888-281-6858 today. Spectrum Business, made to work.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will go head-to-head in their first presidential debate Tuesday night. The vice president is already in Pennsylvania, gearing up for what she might face in Philadelphia. The former president has been meeting with senior advisors, policy experts, and allies.
For the typical viewer who's watching this with some degree of how am I going to vote, and I'm trying to inform myself, whereas Kamala Harris coming from on policy and personality, whereas Donald Trump coming from on policy and credibility.
Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has completed chemotherapy after announcing an undisclosed type of cancer in March. She is expected to return to some public duties in the coming months. And the 42-year-old released a heartfelt video Monday on her cancer journey.
This time has above all reminded William and me to reflect and be grateful for the simple yet important things in life, which so many of us often take for granted.
James Earl Jones, the iconic voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars and Mufasa in The Lion King, has died. According to Jones's agents, the actor died Monday morning at his home. Jones won 2 Emmys, a Golden Globe, 2 Tony Awards, and a Grammy, among other accomplishments. He was 93 years old. Those are your headlines. Here's your weather on the ones.
Meteorologist Brittany Hamilton here with you. We are tracking Francine as it continues to move in the Gulf of Mexico, expecting some impacts across parts of Louisiana and potentially Texas. The storm itself getting a little bit more organized today, and that's something that we're watching as we're expecting it to strengthen more. Outside of the tropics, not a whole lot going on. A couple of showers in the Four Corners region and a few showers and storms across areas like New York, but the forecast focus is Francine and a couple of other areas we're watching in the tropics.
The stage is all but set in Philadelphia as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will face off in their first debate Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. As the vice president prepares to arrive in the city of brotherly love, the former president is meeting with senior advisors, policy experts, and outside allies. Spectrum's Taylor Popularis is in Washington with more on what we can expect to see and how it could become a make or break moment in each candidate's campaign.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will meet for the first time Tuesday night when they debate in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Both campaigns released new attack ads ahead of the matchup.
Kamala's inflation nightmare continues to cost the average American family every single month.
Loaf of bread cost 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
The Trump team hammering Harris on the economy, even as the former president struggled to stay on message over the weekend, posting on social media that if he wins in November, he would jail his opponents for election fraud, alleging without evidence they are trying to steal the election from him. The Harris campaign released an ad Monday of former Trump White House officials who now oppose him.
Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States.
Analyst Jessica Taylor says the debate will be crucial for each of them. She says Harris has to explain why she'll be different from President Joe Biden, who remains fairly unpopular.
But that's really hard to do when you're the sitting vice president, when you are the sitting administration.
While Trump has to avoid the personal attacks he often defaults to.
He runs a risk of reminding voters why they fired him in the first place in 2020.
The ABC News debate will be 90 minutes long and simulcast by Spectrum News and other networks. There will be no live studio audience, and each candidate's microphone will be muted when the other is speaking. Harris and Trump cannot bring props or pre-written notes on stage, and there will be no opening statements, but they will each get 2-minute closing statements.
And Taylor Populares joins us now from Washington. Taylor, how have both Trump and Harris been preparing for the big matchup?
Well, Sharon, in very different ways. Vice President Harris has spent the last few days holed up in a hotel in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, surrounded by her team of advisors and going through mock debates and really trying to study Donald Trump's previous debate performances and figure out how she is going to face off with him. The former president, meanwhile, doesn't like to engage in traditional debate prep. His team told us that he's been having informal meetings with people like former Hawaii Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who is now supporting him, as well as Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, where they talk about certain issues, but there's no formal mock debate setting. They said Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump, so this will be a really interesting face-off. It will be the first time these two, Trump and Harris, meet each other face-to-face, let alone debate. Sharon?
Yeah, definitely look forward to it. Taylor Populares in Washington. Thanks. Political anchor Alex Cohen continues our Decision 2024 coverage in California. Alex, in terms of strategy, what can we expect to see from both Trump and Harris? And how is the vice president's plan expected to differ from her Democratic predecessors?
Well, I think you can look for contrast when it comes to Kamala Harris. First of all, contrast with her current president, Joseph Biden. She needs to point out to the electorate the places where she differs from him, seeing that a lot of voters have not been happy with President Biden. But I think you'll also see Kamala Harris contrasting herself with Hillary Clinton, who, of course, ran against Trump in 2016. Clinton made gender a really big part of her campaign, and a lot of folks looking back say maybe too much. Kamala Harris so far has downplayed both gender and race, and it'll be interesting to see if that happens tomorrow as well. Meanwhile, the big question about Donald Trump, will he do what his campaign wants him to do, appear presidential, not talk over, not attack Kamala Harris, especially on anything like looks or her gender. But as we all know, sometimes Donald Trump just does what Donald Trump wants to do.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. All right, Alex, a new poll from the New York Times in Siena shows Trump is narrowly ahead of Harris among likely voters nationwide, 48% to 47%. And it's now raising the question whether or not support for Harris has stalled after a major month of August.
Yeah, stalled is one way of putting it. A lot of folks talk about the sugar high, the initial rush that the Harris campaign got from the quick change of events, followed by the star-studded Democratic National Convention. So I think what's interesting to keep in mind about this poll is that a lot of people are pretty familiar with Donald Trump. A lot of this country still isn't familiar with Kamala Harris. And with just a couple of weeks to go before folks cast their ballot, will she be able to define herself in a way that really resonates with the American public?
And this is why the debate is so important. All right, Alex Cohen in Southern California, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You can watch the ABC News presidential debate Tuesday right here on Spectrum News. Our political team will break down all the highlights following the event. Coverage starts at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Prolific film, TV, and theater actor James Earl Jones has died. Jones was most widely known for his iconic role in Star Wars as the voice of Darth Vader, and to younger audiences as the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King. In his distinguished career, Jones won 2 Emmys, a Golden Globe, 2 Tony Awards, a Grammy, the National Medal of Arts, and more. Jones's agent confirmed his death Monday. The cause was not immediately clear. Jones was 93 years old. The search continues for a man accused of shooting multiple people on a Kentucky highway. Just ahead on Spectrum News, what police are saying about the suspect's whereabouts.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to delivering reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Brittany Hamilton, and as we look at satellite and radar, not a whole lot going on. A couple of showers across the Four Corners region once again, and a few showers and storms popping up in parts of upstate New York. The big story, though, is the tropics. Francine forming earlier on our Monday morning. Now we're seeing a lot more thunderstorm activity. We're seeing better organization with the storm, so we are expecting it to strengthen. Now, a lot of the model tracks keep this moving through the Gulf, potentially making landfall somewhere along the Louisiana coast, maybe on the very western part of some of the track. Parts of Texas impacted by this. But you have to remember, this is just where the projected center of the storm could go. And this is just one model as we're looking at the futurecast, potentially seeing this moving through some very warm water. We'll talk more about those water temperatures coming up in less than 10 minutes. But as it moves closer to land, we are expecting some strengthening. You can even see that here on the futurecast. This is 9:30 Eastern time on Wednesday. And as that storm moves closer to the Louisiana coast, expecting some heavy rainfall, likely some storm surge as well, and also some strong winds. Now, in terms of landfall, we could see this being a Category 1, maybe even a Category 2 storm. And even if it does happen to stay below that threshold of a hurricane, I do think that the wind is still going to be a big issue as well. But the flooding, a big concern, especially after all the rain that fell last week in areas like Louisiana. So tomorrow's outlook for Tuesday, a slight risk, a 2 on a scale of 1 to 4. But look at what happens on Wednesday. You see this area in red here, a moderate risk, a 3 on a scale of 1 to 4. And I think when you pair that along with the storm surge potential, that's where we really are going to get into trouble across the Louisiana coast. Already some storm surge warnings that line the coast, and we'll talk more about those numbers, what you can expect coming up in just less than 10 minutes.
Newly discovered text messages are raising questions about efforts to prevent a school shooting in Winder, Georgia. According to multiple reports, the alleged shooter texted his mother saying, quote, "I'm sorry, Mom," before killing 2 students and 2 teachers on Wednesday. That message reportedly led to the mother calling the school to warn about an unspecified extreme emergency. The Washington Post reports relatives contacted the school about the teen's mental health a week before the shooting, adding the boy was having suicidal thoughts. Colt Gray faces 4 counts of murder and is expected to face additional charges soon. His father, Colin Gray, also faces charges after being accused of giving the teen access to the AR-style rifle used in the attack. Neither has entered a plea. Police in Kentucky are searching for the man accused of shooting 5 people over the weekend on a highway. Investigators say the suspect, Joseph Couch, shot into multiple cars along north and southbound I-75 on Saturday. Police say a woman contacted a local dispatch before the shooting, informing them Couch texted her saying he was going to kill a lot of people and kill himself afterwards. A $15,000 reward is now being offered for anyone with information on the suspect. Police believe he is armed and dangerous.
Cars run up down the interstate. Just things like that is putting pressure on him. And hopefully he'll eventually just walk out of the woods and give himself up.
Well, police say 5 people are recovering following the shooting. A judge ruled Monday to move the trial of the man charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Bryan Kohberger's attorneys requested to move the trial, arguing he won't receive a fair trial due to extensive media coverage and what he claims is a spreading of misinformation in the case. The judge did not specify where the new trial location would be. The trial is set for June of next year and is expected to last 3 months. Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein is in a New York hospital recovering from emergency heart surgery. Weinstein was rushed to the hospital last night from prison. A statement from Weinstein's legal representative from the Department of Corrections says Weinstein has several medical conditions. Weinstein is 72. He was convicted of rape and sexual assault in 2020 in New York. His conviction was overturned and he faces a possible retrial. Jury selection is underway in the trial for 3 of the 5 former Memphis police officers charged in last year's fatal beating of Tyre Nichols. Nichols was pulled over in his car and ran from police as he was yanked out of the vehicle. The 3 former officers are accused of depriving the 29-year-old of his civil rights through excessive force and obstructing justice by witness tampering. All 3 men have pleaded not guilty to federal charges. 2 other officers pleaded guilty and could testify at trial, which is expected to last between 3 and 4 weeks. The Miami-Dade Police Department continues to face criticism after detaining Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill just moments before kickoff Sunday. An officer involved has been placed on administrative leave following the incident. And joining us to break it all down is Jill Snyder, adjunct lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. She also spent 15 years with the NYPD. Jill, how significant is it that an officer has already been placed on leave?
Thank you for having me. It's pretty quick from the incident yesterday to the administrative leave today for the officer to have been placed. But something to consider is this is a high-profile incident. It does involve someone of notoriety, very famous, and because the executives of the Miami-Dade Police Department they want to ensure that procedure was followed, they would generally place someone on administrative leave simply just to investigate the situation.
All right, so Jill, what questions will the police departments be asking the officer?
Well, I'm sure that they're going to refer to the fact that Miami-Dade Police Department in recent years changed and modified their car stop protocol. Now, I'm not privy to all of the internal mechanisms that that protocol was changed for, but I do know that they did implement new policy recently. So I'm sure they're going to be reflecting upon that, ensuring that the officers on scene were acting within department standard and guideline. And then, of course, they're going to want to see how the situation turned from a traffic infraction to what we later saw and what community members shared via social media, where we saw Tyreek Hill and another person handcuffed and subsequently being detained by law enforcement.
And Jill, most police departments put a lot of effort into reaching into communities. How does an incident like this impact community relations?
So again, I don't want to speculate because we don't have body-worn camera footage of the incident. I am sure that would be released as soon as Miami-Dade Police Department has the opportunity to review it and then speak with the officers that were involved in the situation. But I do feel that the executives within that agency have already come out publicly. They've already addressed the community. They said they want to be transparent. They hold their officers to a high level of accountability. So I think they are trying to ensure that the community feels that the department is taking this seriously. They will investigate the officer's conduct, make sure that they operated procedurally, because the American public has the right to drive their cars and to feel safe, but also law enforcement has that same right to feel safe as well. So I think this is going to be ongoing for some time, particularly until the body-worn camera footage is released.
All right, Jill Snyder of John Jay College, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Apple releases a new iPhone with a focus on artificial intelligence. Coming up on Spectrum News, the new AI features included in the device to help its users.
Here's the deal.
In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't switch to Spectrum Enterprise.
Well, you said our services meet some of your technology needs.
But not all.
Well, maybe you have too many.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Look, I'm switching to Spectrum Enterprise because they'll be a true partner, and I can't run this network without one.
I think you can.
Our clients do it all the time.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Welcome back. Meteorologist Brittany Hamilton here with you. We've talked a lot about Francine, and we are still going to talk about that, but I do want to show you conditions across the rest of the country. Finally seeing a little bit of a break in the heat, especially by Wednesday on the West Coast. Temperatures only in the 60s in Seattle and only in the 70s in Los Angeles, but a lot of heat building in across the Central Plains. You're also noticing a lot of rainy icons across the Southeast, and that is actually related to Francine. So in terms of what we know about Francine, I would say to start preparing now, especially if you're in Louisiana and Texas, as we are expecting this to have some impacts as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. So it doesn't really leave a lot of time. Storm surge potentially, seeing some of those totals getting over 3 feet, not out of the question. And then flooding, as well as some strong winds, potentially hurricane force winds. The flooding, I think, is going to be a big issue. And while rainfall totals may be between 4 and 6 inches in some spots, that's already a lot of rain, but it's in an area that has already seen a lot of rain. As we look at Francine in the tropics right now in the Gulf of Mexico, definitely better organized than what we saw earlier this morning, and it is in extremely warm water. So typically, water temperatures that are over about 80 degrees are very conducive for development. It helps the storm strengthen. You have water temperatures of about 87 near where the storm is right now. So that is going to be potentially a problem. And the National Hurricane Center showing the latest track here. Again, remember, this is where the center of the storm could go. We're expecting it potentially to become a hurricane and then maybe even a stronger hurricane by the time we're looking at landfall maybe on Wednesday afternoon. Now, as this continues to move off to the north, we are expecting it to weaken quite a bit moving over land. But again, between, I would say, Wednesday and Thursday, those are going to be the main impact days across Louisiana and Texas. And because the cone only shows the center, there could be impacts outside of that. So Texas, as well as Mississippi and Alabama, definitely want to pay attention as well. Though it does look like the heaviest rainfall line likely to be in parts of southern Louisiana. In terms of tropical storm force winds, I'm expecting to see that potentially even close to Houston, but the stronger winds likely moving into areas like Louisiana as we get into Wednesday, and then things starting to subside on Thursday. But outside of Francine, we have a couple of other areas that we're watching that have a moderate to high chance, so the tropics are getting pretty active.
just joining us, here's what you need to know. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump ready to face off in their first presidential debate Tuesday night. Harris is already in Pennsylvania, making her final preparations. Trump will travel to Philadelphia Tuesday. Lawmakers are back on Capitol Hill after a summer recess. House Republicans are pushing a funding bill that includes a provision called the SAVE Act. Democrats argue it would create a barrier to the ballot. A judge ruled to move the trial of the man charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Brian Kohlberger's attorneys requested the move, arguing he won't receive a fair trial due to extensive media coverage. And that's what you need to know. Well, we all have them, smartphones, and now there's another iPhone version coming out with a focus on artificial intelligence. Ariel Wessler joins me now with a look at some of the new features. Ariel.
Well, Sharon, hard to believe it has been 17 years since Steve Jobs stood on stage and pulled out the first iPhone in 2007. He said it would change the world, and now AI, well, it's looking to do the same. Here's your first look at the iPhone 16 and what the company calls Apple Intelligence. Yes, it has a tougher glass ceramic screen, new camera features, and a faster processor, but it's also the first Apple smartphone built for AI. The company says its Apple Intelligence will help personalize Siri, its personal assistant, that you're probably used to using. Siri will be able to complete in-app requests and take action across apps, like pulling up a specific shot from a user's photo library or using ChatGPT. Users will also be able to point the camera and pull up the hours or ratings for a restaurant that they pass, even add an event from a flyer to their calendar, or say something like quickly identify a dog by breed by just pointing your phone at it. More Apple Intelligence features will also roll out later this year, including Image Playground, which will allow users to create playful images and custom emojis. Sharon?
All right, so Ariel, Apple is branding its AI as Apple Intelligence, but Google and Samsung have been getting a jump on Apple in the AI race. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, they really have. And so if you're a longtime fan of, say, Samsung or Google, you're probably going, well, yeah, okay, that's great. We've had some of this AI for a while. What's new? Well, Apple has really had to play catch up here. Google even took the unusual step of introducing its latest Pixel phones, packed with their own AI last month in an effort to try and upstage Apple. Will that plan work? We'll see. You can order the iPhone 16 starting Friday. Sharon?
And of course, people will be ordering it for sure. Ariel Wessler in California. Thanks. A second antitrust trial for Google is now underway. The Justice Department is accusing the tech company of building and maintaining a monopoly over the technology that matches online publishers to advertisers. Officials say Google has control on both the buy and sell sides of the transaction, which allows it to keep as much as 36 cents on the dollar when it brokers sales between publishers and advertisers. Google argues the government's case is based on an outdated perception of the internet. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Our Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on-demand weather forecasts. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News Plus, local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back. To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all.
That's a love we can all fight for.